Okay, picture this for a second. You're at home, phone in hand, maybe after dinner, but instead of scrolling, you point it inside your mouth. And then this voice tells you something about your tooth enamel, maybe flags a tiny crack you hadn't noticed. Or, weirder still, pops up a notification saying, hey, time to book that cleaning. Sounds a bit sci-fi, doesn't it? But look, this is becoming reality. It's artificial intelligence starting to really transform dentistry. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? And our mission here today is basically to unpack how AI is shifting, moving from this, futuristic idea to a real practical tool in everyday oral care. We've pulled together quite a bit for this, insights from various sources, including Dr. Syed Ali, who's a practice man that's really working with this stuff, and importantly, a really revealing new study from BDJ Open.
Right, that BDJ Open study, just published July 6th, 2025. And the title kind of grabs you. Smile, you're being diagnosed. What really jumped out, though, was one of the findings. AI is seriously giving human dentists a run for their money, like diagnostic accuracy that's almost neck and neck.
Exactly. The margins are incredibly tight. We're talking statistically almost invisible differences.
And the implications of that, as we'll get into, well, they go way beyond just spotting cavities. So let's start with that slightly odd feeling, pointing your phone at your own teeth. Selfies, but for molars, as you put it. It is strange, especially when it tells you to book an appointment. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. What's actually going on underneath that convenience? I mean, what tech had to line up for this?
That's a great starting point because that convenience you mentioned, it actually tackles a huge real-world issue. Some sources are calling it the access abyss. And if you've tried booking a dental checkup lately, especially, say, in the UK, you probably know what this means. Waiting lists can be months long. There was a YouGov poll showing 1 in 5 UK patients are just sitting in preventable pain because they can't get seen quickly enough.
Yeah.
It's a serious logjam.
Wow, 1 in 5. Yeah.
And that delay, it means small problems, like a bit of plaque, can easily turn into needing expensive crowns. Dentists are constantly playing catch-up, less time for prevention.
I know people who've waited half a year just for a routine check. No pain, just the checkup.
No.
So yeah, access abyss feels right. So this is where AI steps in, offering a, well, pragmatic answer maybe. It can help triage, right? Pre-screen cases.
Exactly. It can prioritize things before you even get to the dentist chair.
Yeah.
Imagine the AI flags a little white spot that looks suspicious on a photo you send in. That case gets bumped up the list. Meanwhile, routine checkups might wait a bit longer. It's not about more drilling. It's smarter attention, smarter scheduling.
Okay, that makes sense. Better use of the dentist's time. So why teeth? Why is dentistry such a good fit for AI?
Well, teeth are surprisingly perfect for training these deep learning systems. AI, especially image recognition, loves structure, predictability, and teeth deliver exactly that. Incisors are generally where incisors should be. Bicuspids look like little pyramids. The gums follow predictable lines. That anatomical consistency, combined with literally millions of smartphone photos out there now, creates this amazing pool of data for training. That's why image recognition took off in radiology first, and now it's hitting dentistry.
And the BDJ Open study really leaned into this, didn't it? They trained their AI on 5,000 images, which, okay, maybe doesn't sound massive compared to some AI projects, but these were annotated images.
Precisely. Meticulously annotated.
Enough to teach the AI the difference between, say, calculus and, I don't know, leftover cheesecake crumbs.
Essentially, yes. Every little detail mattered in training. They used bounding boxes around diseased areas captured from every angle in all sorts of bad lighting, even using different phone brands. So the AI learned to spot plaque on a molar, even if the photo was sideways and taken with a cheap phone flash.
Okay, so under the hood, what kind of AI are we talking about? What's the neural blueprint here?
Right, so the study used something called an SSD that's a single-shot detector. They chose it specifically for efficiency. SSDs are good because they predict what the object is and where it is in the image all in one go, which makes them fast. Perfect for running on, say, your phone without killing the battery.
Ah, so speed over maybe ultimate accuracy.
Kind of. You might squeeze out a tiny bit more accuracy with a heavier model, but it wouldn't be practical for real-time use on a regular device. This SSD approach hits the sweet spot, and the training was pretty intense. They ran it through 100,000 iterations. The numbers showed big improvements. Classification loss, that's correctly identifying things, dropped 91%. Localization loss, pinpointing where things are, dropped 92%. And regularization loss, which helps it generalize better, dropped 95%.
Yeah.
It's the story of the AI just getting steadily, relentlessly better.
Okay, relentless convergence. I like that. Now the big moment. The Diagnostic Showdown. This sounds dramatic. Silicon versus enamel experts. So 90 unseen images. First, 10 dentists set the baseline, the ground truth. Then the AI faced off against 51 different human dentists. Okay, give us the results.
Right. The headline numbers are pretty striking.
Mm-hmm.
The 51 human dentists correctly diagnosed, on average, 82.09% of the pathologies in the images. The AI, it scored 81.11%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredibly close.
It's exactly. Thinner than dental floss, as they say. Statistically, the difference was basically negligible. If you look at just identifying images with at least one correct pathology, dentists were at 95.29%, AI at 94.99%. Again, super close. And for identifying the specific issue, the pathology level accuracy, it was that 82.09% for dentists versus 81.11% for the AI, a really tight match.
But it wasn't identical. The study found some interesting error patterns, right? Like the AI missed some things humans caught and vice versa.
That's right. The AI, for instance, sometimes overlooks subtle signs of gingivitis, missed it in nearly 9% of cases where it was present. But interestingly, it tended to overdiagnose caries, or cavities, by about 6.25%. It was a bit too cautious there.
And humans were the other way around.
Generally, yes. Humans were less likely to overcall cavities, but maybe slightly more likely to miss very subtle gingivitis compared to the AI's misses.
So the AI is like that super cautious friend saying, "Are you sure that's not a cavity?" Which maybe isn't the worst bias to have.
Well, that's the interesting part. These slight differences, these quirks, can actually be seen as a kind of safety net when combined with a human expert. Cavities often needs quick action, right? So an AI model that's a bit conservative, flags things maybe a bit more often, prompts the dentist to take a closer look. That's potentially valuable. Gingivitis, though, can be tricky. Very subtle color changes, lighting issues in photos that can fool the AI perhaps more easily than a trained human eye looking directly in the mouth.
So it's not AI versus dentist, it's AI plus dentist.
Precisely. It's about the complement. You get the tireless consistency of the code. It doesn't get tired, doesn't have a bad day, paired with the experience and intuition of the practitioner. That's where you get something potentially better than either alone.
Okay, that makes sense. But, people might still be skeptical. Is this just research or is AI actually in dental clinics now? Can you give us some concrete examples?
Absolutely. This isn't just theoretical anymore. We're seeing real-world applications already. Take radiograph triaging. AI platforms can scan dental x-rays, highlighting suspicious areas before the dentist even opens the file. Saves time, flags potential issues early.
Okay, like a sheet map on the x-ray?
Sort of, yeah. Color coding, highlighting. Then there's clear aligner planning orthodontics. AI helps predict the best placement for attachments to move teeth effectively. We're also seeing mobile apps for tracking gum health. You take selfies, the app measures gum recession over time, pixels tracking millimeters.
Gum selfies. Okay, what else?
Carries risk analytics. AI tools are starting to integrate your diet, your brushing habits, imaging data all into one dashboard to give you a personalized risk score for cavities. And even voice-guided charting. The dentist or assistant speaks notes aloud, and AI converts it into a structured patient chart in real time. Frees up hands, speeds things up.
Voice chart? Okay, I can see how that helped workflow.
Yeah.
So why the big push? Dentists are skilled. What are the core advantages AI brings?
There are a few really powerful advantages, kind of hiding in plain sight. First, scalability. Human expertise takes years to build, right? It scales linearly. Algorithms, once trained, can be copied almost infinitely for very little cost. They scale logarithmically with computing power.
Right. One trained model can serve thousands.
Exactly. Second, equity. Think about rural areas or underserved communities that might lack dental specialists. AI diagnostic tools can travel over a standard 4G connection. A small clinic might not afford a full-time oral pathologist, but they could access one made of code.
Bridging the gap makes sense.
Third, consistency. We touched on this, but it's crucial. An AI gives the same assessment at 2 a.m. as it does at 2 p.m. It's not affected by fatigue, mood, maybe a bad night's sleep, things that can subtly influence human judgment.
No off days for the AI. And when you put those together, scalability, equity, consistency, you can see the potential for real public health impact, can't you? Like catching something early because the AI screened thousands of images consistently, saving someone from a root canal down the road. That's a tangible benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, but every coin has two sides. We need to talk about the downsides, the challenges. This can't all be smooth sailing. What are the big hurdles?
Absolutely critical to address those, and there are several significant ones. First off, data bias. It's a common AI problem. If the training data mostly showed, say, young people with great lighting, The AI might not perform as well on images from older patients or people with darker gums or just grainier photos.
So it might miss things in certain groups.
Potentially, yes. Needs careful validation across diverse populations.
Yeah.
Then, privacy. We mentioned this mouth photos contain a lot. Metadata, reflections.
Right, not just teeth.
Exactly. Secure data handling, robust anonymization, these are non-negotiables. Then there's the regulatory maze. Software that influences clinical decisions often falls under medical device regulations. That means complex compliance hurdles, approvals. It's not simple.
Okay, bias, privacy, regulation. What else?
Over-reliance. There's a risk, especially maybe for less experienced dentists, to just accept the AI's output without questioning it enough. Critical thinking has to stay central.
Don't just trust the black box.
Which leads to the next point, the black box problem itself.
Mm-hmm.
And relatedly, liability. If the AI makes a mistake, mislabels a lesion, and a patient is harmed, who's responsible? The developer. The dentist who used it. It's legally murky.
That liability question is huge and connects to that black box idea. Dentists need to understand why the AI reached a conclusion, right?
Precisely. And that's where visualization tools become so important. Things like GradCam overlays. They basically create heat maps on the image showing which pixels most influence the AI's decision, or saliency maps using colors. When a dentist can see the AI focusing on a specific ridge or spot, it builds trust. It makes the AI less of a mystery box and more of a transparent assistant.
Transparency is key then. And speaking of data, those initial 5,000 images, that's just a start, isn't it? We need way more to cover everything dentists actually see.
Oh, absolutely. We need to expand the data set universe, as some put it. Think about all the complex things.
Yeah.
Cracked fillings, stitches after surgery, braces covered in food, crowded teeth, stains from old antibiotics that can look like decay. You probably need millions of images, really diverse ones, to teach AI to handle all that nuance.
So how do we get those millions of images?
Well, one interesting idea floating around is citizen science. Maybe a secure app where people can voluntarily, anonymously donate photos of their teeth. Gamify it, perhaps, get diverse angles, lighting, use the wisdom teeth of the crowd to train better models.
Crowdsourced toothpicks. Interesting idea. And is AI just looking at photos, or is it getting integrated with the actual tools dentists use?
It's definitely moving towards integrating with chairside hardware. We already have digital X-ray sensors. The next step is overlaying AI analysis in real time. Imagine the dentist taps a spot with an Explorer tool, and instantly a heat map appears on the linked screen showing the AI assessment of that specific fissure.
Real-time feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or with cone beam CT scans for implants. AI could automatically map nerve canals or sinus boundaries, potentially cutting down planning time significantly. And this isn't just hypothetical. There was a case study, I think, in Karachi at a community clinic. They used AI to triage patient photos taken in the waiting room. Reported a 12% jump in productivity, and patients seemed happier too.
Real results then. So this must change how we train dentists too, right?
Huge implications for training the next generation. Dental schools are already debating curriculum changes. Less time on some traditional things, maybe more on data interpretation, understanding AI tools.
Do they worry it'll erode basic skills?
Some do. But I like the analogy of airline pilots and autopilots. Pilots still need to know how to fly the plane, understand aerodynamics, even if the autopilot handles much of the routine stuff. Future dentists will need their core skills, plus the ability to work effectively with these AI tools. Calibrating scanners, interpreting AI overlays, knowing when to trust it and when to override it. It's an expansion of confidence.
Okay, expansion, not replacement. But is there a darker side? What happens if the algorithms, go rogue? Bugs, malicious attacks?
That's the darkest scenario, and it's a real concern. We know adversarial attacks are possible in AI, tiny invisible changes to an image that trick the system. Imagine someone subtly altering dental images to hide early signs of cancer. It sounds extreme, but it highlights that cybersecurity is now becoming part of dental care. We need incredibly robust systems, verification checks, audits.
Wow. Cybersecurity meets periodontal care? That's a new one.
It really is.
Which brings us squarely to the ethics. Beyond privacy and liability, what other ethical frontiers are we facing here?
Well, socioeconomic bias is a big one. If AI models are trained mainly on high-quality images from expensive scanners, will they work as well on grainier images from cheaper smartphones used in lower-income areas?
So the tech could actually worsen health disparities if we're not careful.
It's a risk that needs active management. Developers have to ensure models work fairly across different device qualities and populations. And then there's informed consent. It needs to evolve. Patients have a right to know if an algorithm is analyzing their images, right?
Definitely.
And it needs to be explained clearly, not buried in jargon. Something simple like, we use a secure program to help us spot potential problems early in your images, respecting autonomy.
Clear language. Makes sense. Okay, so looking ahead now,
Hmm.
peering over the horizon, what does the future look like? Is it going to get even more sci-fi?
It really might. Imagine augmented reality glasses for dentists, projecting whisk maps right onto the patient's teeth as they
Yeah.
look. Or smart toothbrushes that don't just time you, but track plaque density in real time and send feedback to an app. Maybe even give little haptic nudges to improve your technique.
A toothbrush that critiques my brushing. Not sure how I feel about that.
Ah, maybe. Or even intraoral 3D printers. Tiny printers guided by AI that could patch microfractures in enamel on the spot.
Okay, that's definitely stepping into the future. Are we talking just images or combining data types?
That's the next frontier, multimodal models. Imagine AI combining the photos with data from, say, saliva analysis looking at metabolites. Add in diet logs from an app, maybe even microbiome sequencing data. Fusing all that could create this incredibly detailed, holistic picture of your oral health, potentially predicting disease risk years before anything shows up visually, moving from reaction to true, personalized prevention.
From fixing problems to stopping them before they start.
Exactly.
And all this tech. It must be causing economic ripples, right? Insurance, manufacturer.
Oh, absolutely. Huge economic ripples. Insurance companies are looking at using AI risk scores to adjust premiums. Equipment manufacturers are bundling AI software with scanners, creating subscription models. Venture capital is pouring into dental AI startups. The whole industry model is shifting towards this tech-driven, preventative approach.
But the key question there is access, isn't it?
Hmm.
Will this new tech be affordable or create a bigger divide?
That is the critical question. All the stakeholders, dentists, companies, insurers, regulators, need to actively work towards making sure these advancements improve equity, not worsen it.
So for dentists listening now, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed or unsure, what's your advice?
Yeah, it's understandable to feel a mix of things. Excitement, maybe some anxiety. My advice, engage with it. Don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Start small. Maybe try out a simple AI screening app in your practice, even on a trial basis. See what it flags. Track its accuracy, its false positives, its misses. Compare it to your own findings.
Get hands-on experience.
Exactly. Build your own intuition about where it genuinely helps and where it still falls short. That personal experience is way more valuable than just reading studies or attending lectures.
But ultimately, the human touch remains, right?
Absolutely essential. Cannot stress that enough. The chairside relationship is irreplaceable. An algorithm can't show empathy, can't call a nervous patient, can't understand the social or financial factors impacting treatment choices. Human judgment, human connection that stays at the very center. The AI is a tool, a powerful co-pilot, but the dentist is still flying the plane.
A silicon co-pilot that never blinks. I like that. Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, what this BDJ open study and everything else we've discussed really shows is, while AI in dentistry isn't just a future dream anymore, it's here. It's maturing into a practical partner. It demonstrably helps with triage, boosts preventive care, potentially widens access, all without necessarily replacing the dentist's core expertise. Yes, there are real challenges, bias, privacy, liability, the need for better data. We absolutely have to tackle those, but the progress is undeniable.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, next time you're due for a checkup, don't be shocked if your hygienist or dentist pulls up your x-rays on a tablet, maybe with some colored overlays highlighting areas of interest. That overlay, that simple visual aid, it represents a huge amount of work. Millions of pixels analyzed, thousands of hours of computation, countless human experts annotating images. And it's also a quiet signal, a sign that dentistry, which for so long was defined purely by touch, sight, and that little mirror, is now confidently stepping into the age of code. In this emerging world, smiling for the camera, even your phone camera, might just turn out to be one of the healthiest habits you pick up.